back to...
Let's do it.
Wait, what the fuck? Blood Brothers. Had to think about that one for a second.
Welcome back to the first part of our video if anyone watched this live on Twitch, which hopefully they didn't. Oh no, we're not live,
Wait,
right?
We're not on Twitch. We're doing SharePlay, my dude.
I forgot about that. Perfect.
Yeah.
So no one heard all that. I was just, because I was sitting there thinking, shit, while we were doing, I was just like, man.
No, I wouldn't have started a conversation that was sensitive material that we didn't want people finding out.
All right.
So I wasn't even recording that part, or except for that one part for the test recording that I promptly deleted.
We'll get started here. So hot
hey,
intro.
Everybody. I'm Kyle. That's Ryan. We're playing Bloodborne, and by we I mean just Ryan.
And I am currently enjoying something as recommended by the one and only Have Your Penna.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Colombian coffee.
Okay.
Because the Colombians make two good things: cocaine and coffee.
Yeah, man. All about that sweet coke.
That's why I said my boy Have Your Penna. You know, Narcos. He's in. Yeah.
Pablo fucking Escobar.
Yeah, they moved to the Cali cartel, and now Mexico, because it turns out that that's who's actually sending all the cocaine off through that border that has no security.
Hey, man, they're gonna build a wall, okay? It's gonna be a beautiful wall.
Well, sadly, Narcos is set in the 1980s and 90s, so they got a long time before.
Hey,
don't worry, don't worry. There's
drugs?
Lots of people to OD yet in all of every state, everywhere.
Yeah. Well. You know what they really
This episode of Bloodborne brought to you by Dare. Welcome.
Hey man, my dad was a Dare officer, okay?
I hated Dare.
Yeah. I think that...
Hey, crazy, that stoner kid, it didn't like Dare. Weird.
Wait, whoa, Ryan, do you engage in illicit narcotics?
No,
okay.
not illicit at all.
I won't post this video until July 1st, 2018.
So you don't have to. What do you mean?
It was a joke.
I mean, dude. Okay, so
I know.
My
they
roommate,
write scripts right now,
right now will go unnamed.
Ken Hendricks.
Yeah.
Can we just use that as your roommate?
He switched to the company that he was invested in, because he has a medical. He gets the medical approval to
I know. He has
legal cannabis or marijuana for those who probably know how this works by now.
Yeah.
And he switched to Aurora, which is the company he's invested in, and they gave him a card that looks like a fucking credit card. It's got a big PIN number, and it's like this whole thing, like, because you're supposed to present those to legal authorities if they stop you.
Yeah, if they catch you with pot.
Because provided you have, because provided you actually have it contained in the medical container and your card, they can't do anything. It's absolutely 100% legally in your possession.
Because most, it is assumed that it is illegal, that you have it illegally unless you can prove otherwise. You're guilty until proven innocent. In
However, it's when we were at the UFC, we were walking home on the streets with tons of people in Edmonton.
Yeah.
And the smell of weed was very strong.
Oh,
the smell of weed in the bathrooms, even at the UFC event.
Yeah, of course.
I got the vibe, and I think socially a lot of people get the vibe. It kind of doesn't matter anymore. People are kind of starting to realize, whatever.
So,
I mean, some people are still going to be a stickler about where people do it, I think, but
sure,
especially here in Canada, once we go legal, obviously, which is happening, as everyone knows.
Yeah, July 1st, 2018.
Yeah,
I still don't want people smoking outside of doorways or at a drive-through window. The same rules basically for me, or I think should apply.
Yes,
to,
but if someone wants to go to their car
cigarettes.
in a parking lot and hotbox or something, whatever, it's their car.
Yeah, sure, go to fucking town.
I mean,
but so this is something that used to come up.
Be courteous. Spray yourself when you get out of the car. But
well, not even just
spray
that.
Your clothes.
This was my fucking.
Any self-serving real working adult will know that you give yourself a little spray before you go into public, just to be that's not even to hide yourself. It's to be courteous to people who don't like the smell.
Yeah, of course, because it's a pretty pungent scent.
To me, it's one of those things. It's like gasoline. Some people love the smell. Some people despise the smell.
Yeah.
Are you pro or nay, for both? Are you pro or nay?
Oh, hang on. Things got a little janky there for a second. The internet quality is low. SharePlay connection. Okay, I think we're still okay though. It looks like it's stabilized. Yeah, no, it's okay. Sorry.
Are you pro or nay? So I'm randomly running around here. I'm gonna kill some enemies while you ask.
So I'm pro marijuana. I'm not big on.
No.
Oh, sorry. The smell? You
Yeah,
mean?
just smells. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Both
I mean,
gas and marijuana.
I think the smell of gas is fine, as long as it's not too concentrated in an area. Like it's much more acceptable.
Like it obviously can get you if you sniff it really close. Like it's a chemical. But
like,
I mean, like I've always been one of those people. I know a lot of people that are like this, and it's really weird. I've always been one of those people where like you go to the
pumps at the gas station.
You go to the gas station, and it makes me thirsty. It's like there's just I don't know what it is. There's just a
probably like a Pavlovian effect. Like
yeah,
you used to get drinks at the gas station, so now that you're familiar with
it's just the smell. It's just the smell of it.
Right?
Smells real good. It just I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Same with this. Obviously, I'm pro for both, and same with the smell of green of the. It's just really skunky stuff like that. Depends on the strain, obviously. Sometimes you get a piney one, but
yeah. Are you familiar with Pavlov and his jams though, Ryan? I'm just curious.
Pavlov? I am not.
Pavlov? Yeah, you've heard the term Pavlov's dog. I'm assuming, right?
Educate me.
Yeah, sure. Have you heard the term like Pavlov's dog or anything?
No.
Okay.
I might have actually. That
yeah, dude, it was a Bare Naked
vaguely.
Ladies song lyric. Ring a bell and I'll salivate. How'd you like that?
Wow.
Call me Pavlov's
Listen,
dog.
we just lost out any potential chance of viewership. He just drops Bare Naked Ladies song lyric. Listen,
hey man, do you have a fucking problem
I feel
with
like
BNL?
this is that moment in. Yeah, I feel like this is that
Stephen
moment
Page
in
is a
Community.
fucking
Wasn't that
Canadian
also
treasure.
a Bare, yeah.
No, that was.
That's where I heard it. There you go.
Bare Naked
Done.
Ladies. Yeah, no, they don't say that lyric. It's just that everybody gets really defensive for Bare Naked Ladies except for Jeff. Yeah, okay.
We're going to talk about Bloodborne. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Pavlov.
Talk about Pavlov.
Yeah, it's a really interesting theory. So it's the idea of connecting two different things in a target's mind. So what Pavlov did was he would ring a bell, and every time he would ring a bell, he would give his dog a treat. And obviously, you give the dog a treat, and its mouth starts watering because it's like, fuck yeah, I'm getting a treat, motherfucker. Eventually, he would ring the bell, and even if there was no treat, the dog's mouth would still salivate because it equated those two things in its mind. The same thing also happened in an episode of The Office, if you remember, where every time Jim, yeah, for real. Every time Jim would
not really to you.
Computer,
I was really into the game.
Oh, okay, sorry. Jim would restart his computer. He would give Dwight an Altoid. And then one time he restarted the computer and Dwight just held his hand out and Jim just looked at him like he was a weirdo and Dwight got really confused. Do you remember that episode? Or like that specific prank?
Sorry, I was focusing on the menu because I was trying to get myself reacquainted to Bloodborne. Say the prank again.
Yeah, when Jim would keep resetting his computer and every time he did, he would always give Dwight an Altoid. And then one time he reset the computer and then Dwight just holds his hand out. And he's like, what are you doing? Guy. And Dwight gets really confused. Yeah, so I'm thinking that what could be the same with why you get the sense of thirst is if whenever you guys used to like fill up gas when you were a kid or something, if your dad bought you like a big gulp or something, and then every time you went to the gas station,
it's always oops, that's the wrong button. I just wasted my last healing. It's always just been the actual smell. It's just the smell of gas. It smells like it would taste good. I obviously wouldn't, but
please
it's just one of those things. Like it's the same thing.
Oh, crow friend.
I don't have healing. This is bad.
No, you don't. Yeah, man, you got tons of health, okay? You're gonna be fine. We also don't know where your souls are.
Oh, the boss has them.
Oh, awesome.
I was gonna talk Bloodborne here in a second. Welcome to, we're Blood Brothers, where we talk about nothing to do. Hey, we had a Star Trek episode. Speaking of, Star Trek Discovery.
I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, that's what I've heard. Some people got really mad about it.
Some people are really mad about the Oblivion-ass Klingons. I don't know if you've seen the armor, but they're basically Deidre.
Yeah. You mean they don't look like goofy people with pointy, with face bones and eyebrows?
Some people are actually speculating that they could do some timeline stuff to like time travel stuff to mess with why. But I actually think what they're just gonna say is like, these people are what they're going to ignore the original series ones that look like that. They're going to say that these are what they look like at that time too, or that the people in the original series were half human. That's it. Like,
they won't do that because it was like a big fucking deal that Worf was a half human. So I doubt that they would do that. But
even the full-on Klingons in like TNG DS9 style,
where does Discovery fit in the timeline, by the way?
just like 10 years before the original series. Before
Okay,
Kirk.
so it's...
So Kirk
yeah.
could exist. Like, one of the characters in the show is the character from Walking Dead. She's half human, half Vulcan. And she literally went to an academy, and she was taught by Sarek, and she consistently talks with Sarek.
Sarek is Spock's father.
Spock's father, yeah. So,
nice.
so they literally don't hesitate to go right to that angle.
Yeah,
like,
no,
pretty quickly.
I can get down with that.
But the best way I'll say to experience it, the first two-parter, treat it like a movie. It's kind of like, hey, here's this movie. Like this happens
like
sometimes
with
TV shows where they open.
Firefly.
Yeah,
oh wait, you've
no,
never seen Firefly. I'm sorry.
But I just mean like even pacing-wise, like it's going to be more
world building
focused in that first
No, I really enjoy episodes like that of shows, like where you're like just doing a little bit of world building. Like, I know you haven't seen it, but Firefly does a really good job of that.
It's somewhat world building, but like I said, it's considered more like... Have you seen the new Star Trek movies? It's like, it's not... like, for what it's trying to do, it's not trying to be really cerebral in those first two episodes. It's instead trying to be a movie. Like, it's got... It's paced so that you have big set pieces, right?
Yeah.
Which some people don't like at the beginning. So
let's
the boss
not run
has our
around in
souls,
circles for a year,
and we are not well equipped. But let's talk about Bloodborne. So it's been a while since we played because Destiny 2 came out. But I'm happy to be back and wasting my bullets and wasting all my items and trying to remember all the buttons and remember what we should do. So I was going to say let's just get spicy and fight these guys.
Hell yeah,
now
dude.
that I have literally one bullet and no... Oh, shit! Well... This is Bloodborne saying, "Hey, you want to talk about Star Trek?"
Hey, do the blood bullet, and then immediately start slashing the dude, getting all the health back.
No, this dude sucks. Like, oh no, oh no, oh no, that's not good.
Wait, okay,
we're okay.
Like you were just backing away from any. Just chilling over there.
No.
Oh, that one's not chilling.
I don't want to fight both of them. I don't want to fight both of them.
I don't think he'll kite that far, Ryan. It's okay. Oh!
This is death. I'm telling you right now.
Don't be a pussy. Dude, you fucking got this. Have a little goddamn faith in yourself.
You do not realize how much damage these guys do. You know
dude,
why I've been surviving? Because I took no hits. The moment I take a hit, this is over. I've got one. I think I get 2 hits from these guys, and I'm done.
Yeah, it's almost gonna empty you. I think that you need to be a little more aggressive when you take the hit, though. Like, and he's locked in the out animation. Just start wailing on him to get the health back, like right now.
Dude, because there's 2 of them, I can't take risks. This is getting real buggy.
Oh, dude, use the stairs to your advantage. They'll probably get stuck on them.
Run! I'm just running. Is that an okay strategy? There's this thing over here. I'm just gonna run.
Pierre.
We did damage to them. Pierre's seen better days.
Yeah, absolutely. He's fucking got
like the song says. He's seen better days.
Oh, you can make fun of me for fucking bare naked ladies and you're singing whatever the fuck that is? What the fuck,
whatever
Ryan?
the fuck. You don't even know the artist, and you know what? I don't either.
Yeah.
It came out in the 90s, I'm sure.
I mean, are you sure you don't know who the artist is? Are you
what
sure
is that? Is that an enemy? Is that a bird? What is that right there? Hello?
That? I think it's a statue.
Oh, I thought it was an enemy. Those guys not there?
Yep. Oh, hang on. We're getting the jank again. Oh, we're good again.
I think they're guarding it.
Yeah. I do apologize if we have frame drops, everybody. That's, again, if anybody doesn't know, the way that we set this up is Ryan and I are connected directly, so I can watch him die. It's his body getting ravaged by dogs. Yeah, so we have it set up so that Ryan is streaming directly to me. I have a recording, a capture card set up, and I'm recording directly. But if the connection between Ryan and I has to be much stronger than streaming because it goes in real time, so that he's not like, "Oh fuck," and then everyone's like, "Why is he having a big freak out?" And then 3 seconds later, we all see what happens, or whatever, or 10 seconds later, or whatever it is with Twitch, because that's not nice. That guy
blood vials, blood vials,
blood
vials. Nope. So I have no bullets, but I'm going to remember that I can play this game effectively by doing this.
Yep. And going and fucking this guy in the dick. There you go, Ryan. Just got yourself 5 bullets. There you go.
For free.
Yeah, essentially. You lost like a little bit of health, but nothing major. Yeah, so if ever the connection on either of our sides gets a little bit janky, it will show up on here. So, yeah, sorry if that happens, but we literally can't do anything about it with us being, across the fucking country from one another?
For now, yes, that is.
I mean, for now.
That is the current climate of where we are.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I'm engaged, man. My fiance has a stable job with the New Brunswick government. You know what that dictates?
I just said for now. That's all I said.
No, I know. Staying in. Oh, nice shot. You really showed
that
right? Post what was up.
Fucking post.
Yeah, fuck you.
So yeah, this episode of Bloodborne will be a fun one because it'll basically be us getting our feet back into it. But I feel like I'm getting it again. I'm back.
I feel like your skills
back,
I feel
baby.
like are back to where they were. Oh, there you go. Oh, dude, remember how much trouble you were having with those motherfuckers? Like last time, where you like just
die
do
by
anything?
throwing knife.
I think he. Oh no, he did die. Okay. Oh. Oh,
yeah,
do you know what
just
I
get
did?
In your head.
Nice. Yeah. Do you know what I did today that I've never done before?
What's up?
I destroyed the Overmind.
The Overmind?
Yeah, I beat
Destiny?
the original StarCraft campaign.
Oh.
I started Brood
Nice.
War. Yeah, that's a good fucking game.
Brood War is one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah.
I might even say Brood War is the best game of all time.
Yeah. So I know that we had the disagreement about
best game
one
of all time.
And 2. You would not make the argument that
I love it.
You would. Yeah, I know we had the disagreement between StarCraft 2 and StarCraft 1. You would never make the argument that 1 was better than Brood War, though, right? Like Brood War is just obviously
No.
Okay.
Like it's the kind of the same way that I would never make the like. I'm a weird person when it comes to games, somewhat.
Yes.
I value legacy, but I also think that I look at like the structure of a game or a system, and like I want to see at what point are the sequels not doing anything to enhance or make that system like instinctively or intrinsically better. It's just kind of like reskinning it or reshuffling it, right?
Okay, so we had this discussion
and
once.
one of the examples I always use is Call of Duty 4 is way more pivotal than Modern Warfare 2, but Modern Warfare 2 to me is that system extended as far as it's gone, and every other version of that game, with the exception of the Treyarch stuff that adds the zombie mode, but with ignoring the zombie mode, even their traditional multiplayer, that's what I'm focused on. The system is just a reshuffled version of what Modern Warfare 2 was. That pushed the system as far as it went. Modern Warfare 1 introduced multiplayer mechanics like progression. You earn little things, a little bit of perks. Modern Warfare 2 introduced and base level kill streaks. Like everyone had it the same. It was at 3 kills you get a UAV, at 5 kills you get a rocket or something like some type of thing like that. Oh, an airstrike, sorry. And at 7 or it might have been 10, depending on what you setted for perks, you would get like a helicopter that would just fly around the map and kill. Modern Warfare 2 was the first one that introduced the perks that allowed you to go inside of the vehicle. Modern Warfare 2 was the first one that introduced perks that would level up and like change as you would go. Essentially everything that you see now in pretty much everything, it really was just like, okay, so what can we do to make this system deep? And then it was like, well, now it's just reshuffling what this dense system always is.
Right.
And to some respects, like you look at something like Destiny, I love Destiny, even Destiny 2. But if you've played Diablo before, you're playing. That's the same thing.
Well,
the systems
Diablo
are not that
Halo.
different.
Because
But I'm talking more about the structure of the progression systems.
Yeah, sure. So we had kind of had this discussion a little bit when I was first bought the remastered version of StarCraft, and I feel a little bit more informed now that I've played through both of them really recently. Obviously, I'm in Brood War, but Brood War mechanically handles pretty much the same. They just made a new story, and also some new units came in for rebalancing.
And
because as everyone knows, StarCraft,
what I find really interesting about StarCraft, and this generally happens with Blizzard in general, and this is one of the reasons Blizzard's a revered studio. I don't think StarCraft 2 is the Modern Warfare 2 to StarCraft's 1 and Brood War. I think StarCraft 2 is a different game entirely. To me, Brood War systems and structure and how Brood War plays and a lot of what Brood War is.
It's an expansion.
StarCraft 2 isn't a better version of that. StarCraft 2 is a completely different thing that is in itself better. That's it. It's the Breath of the Wild to the Ocarina of Time. It's just going for it might still be an RTS, but they restructured and changed so much of what StarCraft was, and even movement. of certain units. Like
Oh
everything
yeah,
just
yeah.
felt way
It felt
different
really
in
janky
StarCraft 2.
trying to start 1 again after how smooth 2 was. Which I don't look at this really as a fault to 1, because obviously if you put the two of them side by side, you can't argue which one functions better. But one was made in like 2007 or 2009, and one was made in 1998. And in terms of like which one was more influential, fucking StarCraft 1 was the mother of esports. We have Dota's International, we have the League of Legends World Championships, we have CSGO and Hearthstone tournaments because of what Brood War did. Anybody who says anything to the contrary is a fucking idiot. But there are certain things that were cleaned up between Brood War and 2 that I think are mechanically just make the game feel better to the average user. So,
but to me, they've changed so much that it's hard for me to say cleaned up and more say just it all just throws into one big pool of a different
just played
game.
Them,
like to me, it felt like they completely. To me, it felt like they deconstructed StarCraft and restarted. That's what I feel like they sit down, and I feel like Blizzard does that with every sequel to everything.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to disagree.
Unless they're releasing expansions, in my opinion. Like if you look at the difference between like WoW, Overwatch, even look at Diablo 3 to Diablo 2, so different. Like everything about it is just so. Like part of it is that they take so long to develop a game that the gaming landscape changes so much by the time they release something new, and they refuse not to react to it. So it just creates situations.
Right? Like, holy
shit. It just creates situations where they have to deconstruct in a lot of cases.
So
which I'm not saying that's to its like I'm not saying that's negative. I'm saying that's a positive.
Yeah.
Obviously. Right.
Yeah, because some people try to release a game that clearly just shouldn't exist anymore after how long it's been taken or whatever.
I think that Blizzard's upfront about what that is. To me, if you're going to make the same thing again, that's an expansion. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that. But frame it like that. If you're just gonna skirt people along with 5 sequels, like it's the same thing with Uncharted. Why can't that just be one game you buy and you just add on content? Like the Hitman. Like I wish more things were upfront about because then you wouldn't get so mad that the sequel feels samey or the expansion feels samey, because then they're actually telling you up front, we feel like this thing can go 10, like we can make 10 of these that are just kind of the same thing but reshuffled.
Yeah.
Like that's how, to me, that's how Call of Duty should have been for ages.
And it feels
now.
like they learned some of the lessons that they maybe they had like been restricted by tech. Like, do you remember how in the first StarCraft you could only ever control 12 units at a time and you had to go to hotkeys for everything? So you still have the hotkey options in the later ones, but they don't limit you to 12. And I recognize that there is a talent to being able to micro like 9 different buttons to get like your 80 units out or whatever, but it's not necessarily a talent that is interesting to watch in terms of like you can still have the same thing where you have like your like 50 Marines set up on 1 and then all of your Vikings set up on 2 and all your whatever set up on 3, and you still micro the different unit types around, but like not like having to be like, okay, well I want 30 Marines, so it's 1, 2, and 3 are the Marines, then my Fire Bats are on 4 and 5, and then my Goliaths are on 6, 7, 8, and 9 or whatever, right?
The thing that I don't know if you like you've played through Brood War, so or sorry, through the original StarCraft.
Yes.
I don't know if you're picking up. Like it's kind of one of those things like when you go back to an old game and you don't understand if you didn't play it at the time.
I did play it at the time, but
no, I mean like play it with a like I didn't even have it really at the time. But play it with like a perspective of not just StarCraft. I just mean games in general. Play them with the perspective of the time that they're in, like not being in the future. So not knowing where some game mechanics are going to go and what things are going to do.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I don't look at this as a fault of the first
what
one.
changes influences why you perceive certain things a certain way. Like for example, one of the things that even Brad talked about this. You just mentioned it, the unit selection. Oh, you can select way more units in StarCraft 2 versus StarCraft 1, and that it was obviously a really good change that needed to happen. The thing is, if you only played StarCraft 1 and Brood War from a perspective of the campaign and non-competitive matches, that wasn't a problem for you because the game was designed and structured, especially the first StarCraft. Brood War a little less so. They started to focus more on it started to look like an RTS. It started to look like an RTS version of a fighting game. The unit balance became really pivotal. Whereas in the first game, it was more, hey, we can design a unit like a hero unit. We can just let you run around with Raynor a lot more because we're designing the game because it was trying to do the campaign. Like that's what its priority. Because it and Command & Conquer were both really single-player games. Like, that's what they were focused on at the time. They were like, we're not worried about competition. We're worried about not only telling a story that's like in Command and Conquer case, it's like campy. In StarCraft's case, it's like we're looking for like Starship Troopers, but like kind of cooler and like space and some aliens. Let's throw some cool stuff. And they really wanted to focus on story, I think, in the first one, and it's not that they didn't in the second one. It's just they completely segregated the modes in the second one. They're almost not. They don't even resemble each other. And then they put all that extra development time into the competitive scene, which I think, again, to me, like again, deconstruct how to develop what they wanted to develop, and then changed it completely, right? Like, I think that's cool. It's just. Again, I think if you were playing the single player of StarCraft 1, the extra unit selection isn't important because there's never situations where that mattered.
What?
Because it was never designed it was never designed to me
with
that in mind.
Like
I never remembered a situation where I was frustrated. Yeah, but you only were frustrated you couldn't select more units because you know you could select more units in StarCraft 2.
Well, I wasn't even frustrated.
If you never knew you could select more units, and you played the game with that in mind, like just not thinking about it and seeing if it became an issue, I don't know. Maybe it still would, but for me, that was not the case.
So this was still something I always.
But did you play Brood War first? I'm specifically talking about 1's campaign, by the way.
No, I do remember. I never played Brood War until now.
Yeah, but I thought you said you'd never played Brood War. I thought you never played 1's campaign.
No, I played 1's campaign. I'd never played.
Okay, like I feel Brood War also does channel that a lot. Like one of the big things, like I mentioned about Command and Conquer and StarCraft at that time, it was the big hook for RTS games at the time were hero units. Like that was Jeff constantly talks about how he hates that these missions where it's just you control a small number of units and you're not doing a lot of base building. But to me, those games had a lot of those missions, and to me that's very telling of the fact that there wasn't meant to be larger unit selection in that aspect because that wasn't on their mind, right? But those missions are what they focus on the most in the campaign.
No, wait. Actually, it's even more important in those missions. So when you were going through those missions, did you just like hover everybody and then just kind of like?
In most of in some of those missions and a lot of those missions, you were never given enough units that you would need more than what you could select. I'm not saying all of them,
but you would still need to select the different types, right? So, like, let's say we're talking about the Terran
obviously
mission, and
the selecting the different types. But I generally played those missions like I played Dawn of War, like Shane and I played Dawn of War. You run with your squad, and you just run like XCOM. You just keep them all together. You just run with one.
No. So the way I would
I'd occasionally break Hero off, like in this.
Well, you have to because they have abilities.
You break Hero off to do special things because Hero has special abilities to do special things.
Yeah,
but you keep your regs all together and just like.
Yeah, I still separated them by type.
It's telling of the fact too that
Zealots run in before Dragoons or whatever, right? Like I would always
unit balance wasn't the focus either, as much back then because you could play the game like that. You could play the game keeping your units all together and just going around like a squad. At that point, the decision to use different types of units was about preference. It was about what do you like playing with.
So again,
as opposed
I think that you're missing
are you going to struggle to kill or fight something?
Yeah, I think you're missing my point. What I'm saying, I don't look at this as a drawback on 1. I look at this as a I don't call this like a con for 1. I look at it as a pro for 2.
It's impossible to look at anything like this as a drawback because things are designed at the time with what people had in mind.
But I'm saying that
and like I said, that's why I think it's telling that these are very different things. Like 1 and 2, like they are, they just are.
Yeah.
Way more than your traditional Assassin's Creed sequel or Call of Duty. Like they're just so intrinsically different.
No, for sure. And and just there's just a lot of mechanics that I'm really glad that they recognize that this was kind of a pain in the ass in 1, and then they bring it back, right? Like having to do that was just one example. But
I think what I'm basically saying is I think they recognize that it's a pain in the ass for where they're trying to for how they're trying to design the sequel.
Well, no, I disagree because the thing is when you add the things, these specific mechanics
that is exactly it. It is a pain in the ass for how they're trying to design the sequel because the sequel's adding layers. But you're not disagreeing. Like you do this often. You'll say something that pseudo agrees, then say basically, but there's still ways to correct without because if you're not actually completely if you're saying something like sort of like what you're saying 60 or 50% of what you're saying I don't know. Anyway, go ahead.
I'm saying that fuck no, I'm kind of losing my place. I'm saying that
apologies.
It was no, it's okay. It's on me for forgetting what I was saying. Oh man, you fucking been picking up a lot of shit in this round too.
Also, I'm just playing pretty good, I thought.
Yeah. I'm saying
maybe all this distracting talk is helpful.
Yeah, dude, it's just annoying for Chris.
There's no tension, so I'm just doing it.
Yeah. So I'm saying that when they were designing these aspects, I think that they're actually more important in fuck. Oh
well,
no,
they're not
sorry.
in one, so
No, they're not in one. I'm saying that they I don't think that they built them that they built two around them afterwards. I feel like it was the thing is I think that they're really
no.
good.
That's not what I was saying. I was saying that they recognized what they built in 2 would definitely be enhanced by that change. Like even more so than
I don't
1
even
because
think that
because they decided to go down the route that was that direction. Like there's like I guess what I'm saying is there's multiple types of RTSs.
Yeah. Oh fuck! Share play stops in 5 minutes.
Yeah, there's RTSs that like roam and stuff like that. There's RTSs that are about larger unit management, and there's RTSs that are about smaller unit management. And the issue of the multiple selection and types of units only comes into play when you have lots of different types of units and lots of units being selected, right?
Yeah.
The less you have, the less that's needed, because being able to select less doesn't really matter because you're only selecting less all the time. Like
they specifically had certain mechanics too that I just felt were better for everybody, right? So you remember in the first one how you kind of just had to. Ooh, okay, you're actually okay.
It's okay, I fell.
You just had to. You kind of had to just like remember to go back every time you built an SCV because rally points would put them in a place, but you couldn't actually see where the rally point was for a specific unit or for a specific building. It's just like if you left click on a building, there's a line that goes to where the rally point is, and you could specifically make rally points. For
I feel like there was like a
so
good solid period during the early development of a lot of those are RTS Command and Conquer and StarCraft and a bunch of other stuff that came out at that time. That was like trying to figure out the perfect way to do rallies. Like the games had them, but each system was a little different. Like everyone was still trying to figure out what the staple was.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, but like nobody would ever be able to
argue
that,
that period
like,
of development, by the
line,
way, usually.
Yeah, for sure. Nobody would be able to argue that like having a line that shows you where it is would be a detriment, right? It's like that's just a nice thing so that I can be like, where the fuck?
Well, I mean, it can
go?
be like again though, it can be a detriment to if you. Again, so if you're going for it, to me, you're talking about HUD elements enhancing a user's ability to play the game.
Yes.
But you're coming at it from a perspective of, I want to do a lot of shit really quickly. I want to be able to see where these units are going.
Right.
What if you're coming at it from a so a perfect example, Destiny 2's got a pretty big HUD, right? There's lots of details on the screen. Call of Duty's story mode doesn't. Why? It's they're going they're going for a cinematic experience. They don't want the HUD, even though they know the HUD would make something easier to follow. It's less engaging. It interrupts what they're trying to do.
Wait,
right?
what?
Like, and that's what I'm talking about. Like sometimes it's not necessarily that they didn't know to do it. It's that they actively chose to do it differently because they were going for something different.
See,
and in my opinion, I see so many aspects of StarCraft that once they started to lean into the competitive scene, oh well, things changed, both in Brood War and then eventually in StarCraft 2. Like I think there's just a lot of byproduct of them doing that. Like I think they publicly stated several times that they intentionally leaned into the competitive aspects of StarCraft.
Oh, for sure.
Way more.
Some of these,
and I just think you can see it over so much of the design decisions.
I feel like it's like I feel like a lot of these cleanup things, they're things that add to if you want to play competitively or if you want to play fast, but they don't detract from it if you don't. So I don't see how there's like an argument.
It's not about a detraction. It's an artistic decision.
Did you say artistic?
It's an artistic.
Oh, okay. I thought you said autistic for a second.
The decision
and I was like, wait,
to have more or less HUD on screen is artistic. It literally is in some cases. It's not. It's not necessarily like I've worked with people who obviously do UI decisions, but it's literally a question of. It's not always just a question of do I want the user to see this or not. Like I think you're coming at it from an angle they didn't know that they wanted the, and I just don't think that's necessarily the case. I think that they were coming at it at an angle of we want really heavy focused narrative and we want to move the action along at a slower pace in the campaign. Like StarCraft 1's campaign is way slower than how StarCraft plays, in my opinion. Like how people play StarCraft, I should say, and that's the case with a lot of campaigns in general. Don't get me wrong. Like that's
SharePlay's going to stop in 1 minute, by the way.
Yes.
So
we got to stop here. So I totally forgot about that.
I know, that's why I said it at 5 and 3. Well, it's okay.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. So next time we'll fucking
continue this discussion.
Probably. Ryan might die. Probably will die. See you guys next time.